Welcome back to Real Airgun Adventures. So I'm going to look at the Hatsan Model 60s actually. Now I often refer to this rifle as a comparison to other rifles. There's a lot of air rifles in the spring piston, break barrel type in the budget range of around the 150 quid mark. I've looked at a few and I often say, but there is the Hatsan 60s, or if you don't want to spend 250 quid, why not spend 150 on the Hatsan 60? So I thought, well, let's get one out and have a look at it and you can see what I mean. So this is one here, which I've dug out especially. Now, before I start, there's a couple of things on this that shouldn't be there and a couple of things on this that should be that aren't. So let's clear that up. That silencer is an addition. This doesn't come with a silencer. And this particular silencer is the type that you clamp onto the barrel because it's not threaded for a silencer. To do that, I've had to take off the foresight. I've also removed the rear sight just for aesthetic reasons. So this is the Hatsan 60s. There's a 55, 55S and a 60. The 60s are 2.2 and the 55s and 50s I believe are 0.177. So this is a 2.2. It is 110 centimeters long, including that silencer. It weighs in at just a tad over 3 kilos, which is quite a nice weight for a good quality walnut stocked air rifle, and this is a Turkish walnut stock. It does have the usual Hatsan markings, so it benefits from the SAS, which I believe is a shock arrestor or shock absorption system, which I don't think works, but it's got one. Now it also has the Quatro trigger. Now I had an earlier version of this, which wasn't a bad rifle. It was a bit like a lump of 42, and the trigger wasn't fantastic, which is why I didn't keep it. Anyway, they had a bit of a revision of these, and they now come with the Quatro trigger, and the Quatro trigger is a really good trigger. I've talked about that before. It's the one that's on the Webley Stingray 2 and on the Model 70, and really it's a trigger that's the standout feature for this price point. Now, you may notice if you've seen the Webley Stingray 2 video that this gun does bear a striking resemblance to it. It's not quite as pretty, but it is quite a good looking air rifle. So we have a checkered stock, and it's not bad checkering, it's quite attractive. Got the pistol grip, which is checkered too. The raised cheek piece, but it's not a bad raised cheek piece, it's a reasonably low comb, so that does make this ambidextrous. It doesn't have the Monte Carlo style cheek piece, it is literally just raised, it has a comb to it. It's got quite a nice grip, and the distance from the grip to the trigger for me is very comfortable, and I think it would be for most people. Just a quick look at that trigger again and you'll see the adjustment there. That is a nice trigger. I can't believe actually that this trigger is so good at this price. It isn't as good as the record trigger, and I'm on record as saying that a number of times, but it's pretty much as good a trigger as you're going to pick up at the £150 mark, possibly the £200 or £250 mark. Now this rifle is very accurate, and when I say accurate, I mean accurate. It's possibly one of the most accurate air rifles I own. Now I should shoot it more. I don't, because there are other things that I do like to shoot, but this is a brilliant workhorse of a rifle. Because it's not expensive, you can subject it to a certain amount of abuse. Now I've had to do some cosmetic bits and pieces on this, but nothing serious. The scope on here, this is a Gammo branded scope. It's one that, to be honest, I picked up either for next to nothing or very cheap. A bit knocked around. I've done some cosmetic work on that too to make it look better, but it works perfectly. It's not a brilliant scope, it's not an expensive scope. In fact, it looks very like the one that came with the Gammo Fox as the package, which is not bad. It's a 3-9 by 30 something. It's got these flip up end caps which I put on, which are out of my box of bits because it didn't have any protectors. it's the kind of thing you'll pick up for about probably the 30 to 40 quid mark in the gun shop. It does have finger adjustable turrets, which the Fox does too, so that's quite a nice feature, because as you're aware, when you change pellet shapes and weights and styles, you need to re-zero a little bit, and it just makes life easier not having to fumble around for a coin or something. Now, there are a couple of things that are really good on this. One is the safety, perfectly positioned, just right for your thumb, easy on, easy off. It's an auto safety, but it's resettable, which is quite nice. These do have an anti-bear trap mechanism, which has been disabled on this one for my convenience. I wouldn't recommend you do that unless you really want to, and that's something that I don't mind making a video or two on in the future if there's a demand for it. The truth is, with a break barrel, the risk of chopping your fingers off is much reduced compared to anything with a sliding breech. And the thing is, with a break barrel, these are very nice break barrels. That is smooth as silk. That is just as good as the Webley. So you would keep hold of that. You wouldn't let that go. I don't know anybody that shoots that actually allows that to free float while they put their pellet in. And that effectively is the best anti-bear trap system there is. Now, as air rifles go, this is an easy to break, easy to cock air rifle, as is the Webley. They're very similar. They are different springs. Webley have a different spring they put in theirs. This one, to me, feels and sounds and shoots just as well. It's not particularly twangy. I'll tell you what, since we're sat here and I'm saying how good it is, let me pop a pellet in. Of course, I haven't got one ready, as I wasn't going to shoot with it. I've got a couple of these Umarex tins here, which I'm working my way through. These have been pretty good pellets, actually. These were given to me, Umarex branded. They seem to be quite good and everything. This particular rifle isn't pellet fussy at all. Okay, microphone's just there, so lens caps are on. I'm just aiming at a cardboard box stuffed with jiffy bags over in the corner. Here we go. Now, there's no twang, it's just a nice thump, which is the kind of noise you want to hear from your air rifle. Now, I've got other rifles that sound like bed springs when they fire. This one doesn't. Even though that box is stuffed with a ton of jiffy bags, that pellet has actually come out the other side and bounced off the wall. Anyway, power wise, on the chrono, this generally depends on the pellets again. I can generally get this over 11 foot-pounds. Some pellets it's been up to like 11.5, so it's a full power air rifle. I would like to say that you get what you pay for, and I kind of like to say if you buy a Virock, you'll have something superior. Yes, if you buy a Virock, you'll have a Virock. So if you buy a BMW, you'll have a BMW. If you buy a Hatsan, you'll have something that looks, feels and shoots much better than it is priced at. Now, I don't often sing the praises of Hatsan. I've got 3 of them, and maybe I should. Now, my view on an air rifle is the proof is in the pudding. If it's reliable, if it shoots well, if it's accurate, and it feels nice, it doesn't matter to me particularly what name's on the side or on the breech or etched into it anywhere. That's not an important issue. There are those that will disagree. There's one other thing on this rifle, which I picked up on the Webley too. It does have a linkage adjustment. So if over time, and this one's a few years old, but if over time it gets a bit loose, it wears like things do, you can tighten it back up. And you don't see that on a lot of rifles these days. It's just in the breech here. I'll put a close-up in so you can see the action. It's just a screw. It's as simple as that. So I'll do some shooting. You might be surprised at just how good this is. I'm going to shoot this at 36 yards, which is a strange figure. I don't know why it ended up at that, but I paced it out and that's why I stopped. I turned around and I fired a few into the target. I did sit down and I did rest the rifle on my knee, so it's rested. But you'll get my drift when you see how well it shoots. So I'll be right back. Okay, there's some shooting. Now, that is a good accurate rifle by anybody's standard, and I'm sure there are people that can take this rifle and do an even better job than me, but some of those pellets were going in the same hole. 36 yards from a sub 12-foot pound cost less than 150 quid, with a scope that in reality probably costs less than a fiver, but it's maybe worth 30 quid new. So that's not a bad result. There are a couple of little niggly things on this, as there are on all the rifles that I own and test. Now, I did notice this on the Webley too. The linkage, if you look, it's actually bent around the stock bolt. Stock bolt's there, and to accommodate the linkage, it bends around it. Now, that isn't the issue. The issue is it can rattle a little bit because it touches that bolt. So if you look very closely, maybe you can see that, there is some black tape wrapped around that linkage, and that is to stop that noise, and that has cured the problem. Yes, it's Heath Robinson. It's probably not the most elegant solution to the problem, but it's fixed it, and I'm happy with it. The stock, being walnut, is attractive. It isn't the most beautifully shaped stock in the world. It isn't as pretty as the Webley Stingray 2, but it isn't an ugly gun. That is a pretty good stock. It's a nice shape, it's comfortable, and at just over the 3 kilo mark, this is quite an easy gun for anybody to shoot. And where it's quite easy to cock, which is surprising considering its price point and its power, again, like the Webley and like the Model 70, which is a .25 by the way, it does mean that this rifle will suit a lot of people of different statures and sizes. So you're not going to be saying this is only for grown-ups. A teenager could shoot this, a small-framed woman could shoot this, a small-framed man could shoot this, or a giant. Wouldn't make any difference. I think they're a good rifle, and I think they're a good value rifle because you get everything you should and a bit more. Now, the SAS system, which is a shock arrestor system, I've got a feeling that's actually just talking about the fact that there is a creep arrestor at the back of the scope rail. I think that's all it is. It doesn't feel like it does anything special or particular when you shoot it. It does have a recoil, not a massive recoil. It's a smooth shooting, good old-fashioned, straightforward, spring piston operated break barrel air rifle. Just the kind of thing I like. Anyway, now you know when I say it's not as good as, or it's better than, or you should look at a Hatsan or Edgar 60 or 60s. This is the rifle I mean. So I don't think you're going to get anything for this money that's better. You certainly won't get a better trigger. Now, at that price point, there are Remingtons, and they're not bad rifles. They're pretty good, actually. But the trigger's not as good. The SMK is a 208, which I reviewed. Pinpoint accurate, really, really good, accurate, reliable rifle. But I didn't really like the trigger. Having said that, it didn't make any difference to the performance. I just didn't like it. This one, I love this trigger. To me, that trigger makes this rifle. It makes the Webley. It's just such a good trigger for the money. If it was at another 100 quid on this rifle, I wouldn't be surprised because that's where that trigger is. Now, this has got a plastic trigger guard. The Webley has a metal trigger guard. It's a metal trigger blade. And to be honest, I like a metal trigger blade. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about trigger blades. It makes no difference, but I just like a metal one. Now, I've kind of gone off at a tangent. I'm talking about some ridiculous small details now, so I think it's time to wind this up. So there you go. Hatsan Model 60s. As I say, they do a 50 and a 55. It's all to do with caliber. They're good guns. You won't get a silencer and you won't get a scope unless you find a gun shop that's offering a package. But even so, I still think that's exceptional value for money. Anyway, I'm going to knock it on the head now. Otherwise, it's going to go on for too long and become monotonous and boring. So please like and subscribe. It's a big thank you to everyone that does and all those that have. It is very much appreciated, and that's the reason I do this. If you didn't like and subscribe, then I wouldn't really have any point in carrying on. So please keep it up. It's great to see those figures climbing all the time. I'm up to about 4 4K plus on subscribers now, which is quite a leap. So thank you, it's much appreciated. I'll be back very soon. I have got a lot of stuff. You can see there's stuff everywhere. I'm reviewing stuff all the time and I'm trying to get it edited and out. I've got the ratting video to come with the Quatro Bantam, and of course the Viron paired with the PARD 007V. There's a PARD 007S which I'll be looking at, and I do have the new UK version, British Standard approved PARD DS3 series, day and night digital scope, and that will be coming up hopefully in the next week or so. I'm not going to go mad on reviews for that. There are other people that are set to review those that can be much better at it than me. So I'm going to just do a quick look over, look through it, show you the pros and cons, and then move on. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.